Hello, how you do?
Hi,
Hey, I like the cosplay. How do you do?
I'm doing pretty good.
All right, let's start the show then. Hi, good evening, good afternoon, good morning to everybody in all time zones. My name is Charlie, and this is the lovely,
Akita Aki cosplay.
and she is gracing us with her current cosplay of Ayane. I like
Just a
the.
casual one. I still have on regular clothes.
It's okay. I like the wig. I mean, you did a very good design over there. The little flower butterfly thing. Butterfly,
hmm
right? Yeah, it looks perfect. So let's start with a little bit of a Q&A. When have you started cosplaying?
I've been cosplaying off and on for about 15 years. I first started cosplaying when I was a teenager. So my first con was in like I think 2000 or 2001.
What was your first cosplay?
My first cosplay was launched from Dragon Ball Z. That was my first cosplay, and it wasn't very good because me and my friends didn't really know anything about like putting stuff together to make up costumes. So I just had like a blonde wig, and I had like the bandana and like a tank top and some other pieces that she had, but it wasn't the best costume. It was just some things we threw together, and my friend was the deal.
So what was your first convention you ever went to?
My first convention was OhioCon. That was the first convention I ever went to. It was before it moved out to, I think it's in Columbus now. It was in Independence, Ohio, which is about 45 minutes away from where I am, which is Cleveland. So we went to that one for the first time. It was at a Holiday Inn. It was a lot smaller, but as the convention expanded, they kind of need to like make more space because there were more people coming. So they moved it to the Hyatt Regency in downtown Columbus that has a convention center and a hotel like connected to it. So that was my first convention.
So what are your current plans for your conventions?
Well, my last con of the year will be Dragon Con because I'm going to graduate school. So I just won't have time as a graduate student to go to as many cons. So I'll probably be going to two a year and maybe going to like some smaller free events at like different colleges and stuff. So Dragon Con is the last one that I'll be going to in September. It's my birthday weekend.
And any future cosplays that you're gonna have?
I have a bunch of things that I haven't worn that are kind of in my closet. So yesterday I finally bought a wig to do Uhura from Star Trek. So she's one. I just finished like putting together pieces to be Zatanna from like Justice League or whatever other DC franchises she's in. And I have a couple of costumes that I haven't worn yet. I also have one being commissioned for a pair of Harley Quinn pajamas. And then I have a Harley Quinn costume coming up as well, but I still need to figure out what type of white makeup to use to make my face completely white. Because as a cosplayer with melanin, it's kind of hard to like find makeup to paint yourself, and you have to use a really good brand or your skin will actually still show through. It's much easier to paint skin that's much paler, especially if you're trying to turn yourself green or blue or any type of color. So I need to find the right face paint because I don't want my face paint to be coming off as Harley Quinn. So
You can
but I'm
always use
gonna
body
like
paint.
I mean, but also at the same time, you don't want to have something that's going to be cracking or feel uncomfortable on your face because the rest of my body isn't going to be painted. My face will just be white because Harley Quinn wears like, the clown makeup and her face is just painted. Her whole body isn't painted. And some makeups, either if it's really hot, will come off or they come off when you eat. And then eventually, like it'll crack and you can see through it. So I actually need to use type of face powder and use a primer and actually just put it on really good and let it set. Because depending on the body paint, it doesn't always work. And then you don't want to use body paint if you don't intend on being that color the whole entire day. because it's also very difficult to get body paint off when you airbrush it on. It takes a lot of alcohol and a lot of showering. So if you don't intend to be like a body painted character for the whole entire day and you have multiple costumes to wear, then you really don't want to use like a body paint that you don't know if it's gonna come off. You probably want to use more of a cake makeup that you can remove with makeup remover, and then that you can kind of seal so it doesn't come off.
I see. I myself have never done a cosplay in my life. I mean, I tried to, but I have no idea how to sew. I mean, I can only like border stuff, but and fix some of the clothes because God knows how many clothes I ripped. But I don't
Well,
know how to sew like professional cosplayers either.
Well, I don't really know how to sew either. I have some friends who kind of help me. I'm actually a lost and found item cosplayer. So most of my costumes are actually made from pieces from like thrift stores or eBay or clearance racks. It's just stuff that I found. I can paint a little bit, hot glue, add stuff to it, and use a little bit of hand sewing skills to like make stuff. So I actually, most of my costumes aren't sold, and some of the ones that are, my friends helped me. Like I like gave them the idea for the design, and I was the dress for them, and I was there with them. I did all the painting and like the manual stuff if you have to paint or sand anything. I did all of that stuff, and then they actually did all the sewing. So it was like a team effort. And one of the people that usually helps me with that is my friend that moved to South Carolina. She also has a Facebook page. Her name is Luna Vestera Cosplay, and she usually helps me make stuff. She commissioned a couple of items for me.
Okay, some other questions. Do you do prints and stuff like that, and you sell them on the internet or not?
I tried doing that, but I wanted to do it more so for charity because for me, cosplay is more of a hobby. I'm not really trying to be cos famous or make like a career out of it. But the prints didn't sell well, and I wasn't, and because I was the one that had to like put them in the envelope and mail them off and get the person addressed, it was a lot of work because I had to go to like the printing shop and pick out all of the stuff and then put them in the envelopes and make sure they didn't get bent and send them to people. And people didn't really order the prints too much because I only just because I wanted to make sure the integrity of the picture wouldn't be compromised when I tried to blow it up to a bigger size. I only sold like a 5 by 7. I didn't do 8 by 10 larger sizes. I did like because I have a couple of other cosplayer prints that I have up here sitting up here. I did this size, and this is actually a print of another cosplayer named Makiro Chop Shop. I ordered her prints. Like I'll buy other cosplayer prints because they're my friend and I've added them to my collection. But myself personally, it was just too much of a hassle. Like if I had somebody to help me like mail it out once I got the orders, but I would probably just donate the money to like the charities that I participate in because I participate in Extra Life every year, which is basically like it's a charity through the Children's Miracle Network. You play video games or you can go to events and you basically donate as a group to a charity, and then the money goes to hospitals to help parents who can't afford to pay for their terminally ill children medical bills. So usually if I would do anything with prints, I probably would keep a small portion of it for myself and donate the rest to like a charity because my major in college is actually social work. So I like helping people. So for me, I wouldn't really want to sell prints for a profit to help me make my costumes or go to a con. It would specifically be for charity if I could. And then I just don't have a variety of photographers to work with in order to get enough product and enough different prints to keep people interested in wanting to buy different stuff. So until I can like really, find people that will be like, a dedicated photographer who will be like, well, we can sell these prints for charity. Because also it's a business endeavor for them too. I have to ask them if I can sell their prints and if they're okay with what I'm doing with them. And I would have to find somebody that would be willing for me to do that and close enough for me to be able to go to their studio and take new pictures so I can have, new prints every blue moon for everybody. Because, I mean, I just sold Catwoman and Poison Ivy. I didn't have prints of all the characters, so.
Yeah, I
Because
like
I
your
didn't have
Catwoman.
professional pictures of all of the characters. Like I usually take most of my pictures with just like my cell phone camera. And if I have any professional pictures, it's because somebody stopped me in the hallway and I found them on a website. I generally don't pay photographers for pictures. I have every blue moon, but I usually don't have the money to do it. And to shoot with some of the better photographers, it does cost a bit of money. And as a graduate student, I just don't have money to, be like, okay, I'm gonna get three good pictures from this photographer for $150 or something, so I can try to sell prints that I don't know if they're gonna sell, and that I'm gonna have to take time out of, writing a 15-page paper to sit down and mail these prints out to my because I don't really consider people my fans. I consider them more of my supporters. So I call everybody my geekdom residents. Like they're part of my geek kingdom. I don't call them fans. So it would be more so like if my supporters was like, I really want to print of you, then I might consider selling prints again. But I just don't have the time to do it. And I'm just kind of like really lazy with mailing stuff off and getting it to people on time.
Okay. There's ways to get like very good backgrounds without having to go anywhere but your own house. You ever heard of CGI backgrounds?
I have not.
It's
But the
actually
thing
a very
is,
good
if
idea. I mean, what you do is you put like a really big green or blue towel covering the wall, and you stand right
Mhm.
in front of it. And you take the picture, and once you do, you use Photoshop. You select the blue area, and you put a background that you want. You can be anywhere, anywhere, literally anywhere.
But see, the thing is I don't want to charge people money for pictures that were not taken with like a high quality camera, and I
Yeah, you
don't
can use a
have
high
one.
quality camera. The only thing you're doing is just saving yourself trips to places that might be too cold or closed off or
It's
stuff like
not
that.
even necessarily that. I don't have access to a camera that would take good high pixelated pictures that once you like actually go to print them out, the quality would diminish if you use a cell phone camera or if you use just like a regular 14.1 megapixel camera or whatever you have. You might not. And then also like regular cameras don't have like lenses where you can make wide shots and long shots to make people's legs look longer or shorter or do a bunch of dimensional things that really brings the character to life. You kind of need like, a Nikon or something with like some type of lens to get good pictures. Maybe eventually in the future I might actually consider getting my own camera and doing photography as a cosplayer just because I think it's interesting. But I don't think I would charge. I think I would just do it as for fun. Like when I see people in the hallway, hey, you want to come over here and do a photo shoot for me? Let me get a couple of pictures of your costume because it's really cool. So if I had that, then I could get somebody else to use my camera as well to take pictures of me. And then I don't know if I would sell them though. I think I still might just be like, if you come talk to me at a booth, if I actually was invited as a guest, here's a free print for showing up and saying hi to me and being awesome.
Well, I just sent you a little link right there on your Skype. Look it up. You might be pleasantly surprised on that link. Just click it.
Okay, let's see.
Just click it.
I am clicking it to see if it pops. It's taking some time to pop up. All right, there it goes.
Look at that for cell phones, like lenses and stuff like that. So you can take professional grade photos with your phone.
Oh, okay.
You see it? It's on Amazon right now.
Yeah.
It
But see,
comes
the
with
thing
everything.
is, I still want an actual camera because I've taken pictures with actual cameras, and I don't mind using a cell phone, but there's something about having an actual camera. And definitely, if I was gonna buy one, I would find one on deal because you can. If you wait and you look around, you can always find something on a deal. Because I bought a $400 sewing machine, so when I do decide to learn how to sew, for $100 because they had a special going on where if you bought it during a certain period of time on Amazon, this $400 or $500 sewing machine was only $100.
Groupon
So
also helps. You ever heard of a Groupon?
I am, but they always send me random coupons that have nothing to do with anything that I ever buy. I don't know if you can filter what you get, but a lot of the coupons are like, I don't use any of this stuff.
Yeah, you can go to the site and just look for stuff, like filter the search. I found like a chiropractor that way once. Oh god, I needed to go to that chiropractor so bad. So here's another question. What are your thoughts on the cosplay doesn't equal consent movement?
My whole thing is just because a person is dressed up in a costume, and they're dressed in a particular way, they shouldn't be disrespected. And if you want to take pictures of a person, there's a certain type of etiquette. Like you should ask. You shouldn't ever touch a person. If you were walking down the street and you saw a person that you didn't know, you wouldn't just start touching them if they was dressed in a beautiful ball gown that you thought was really pretty or anything. You would probably be like, "Oh, that's a beautiful dress. Can I what type of material is that made out of? Can I touch the material to see where'd you get it?" Like some people will literally come up and start touching a person that they don't know, and a lot of people are not comfortable with that. You can't smack your waitress on the butt when you go out to eat, so it certainly would not be appropriate to smack a cosplayer on the butt when they're walking past dressed up, just because they're dressed in maybe. I mean, to be truthful, most costumes for female characters are a little bit more scantily clad. Even in comic books and anime, no matter where you go, there's a lot of skin usually showing for female characters. There
Yeah,
are some male characters out there that do show skin, but it's more so usually it's just a part of the territory in video games and comic books. Most of the creators are males, so they do tend to, objectify women and make them,
fan
scantily
service.
clad. Even though I think Wonder Woman or any other character would be just as cool in a full covering tight bodysuit thing with a big sword and armor. I mean, that's just the way the artists draw it. So people who want to be true to the character, they're gonna dress up exactly. If you dress up as Witchblade, Witchblade just has like a little bit of something covering here and some metal like covering like the nether regions and not a lot, then you're gonna be scantily clad. But that doesn't mean you should be sexually harassed
You just
and that people
reminded me of
still.
something. You just reminded me of something. There was this girl that was cosplaying Witchblade, and they said, "What do you have on your boobs?" "Oh, this is just silicone." "Oh no, I meant on your boobs, not in your boobs."
Mm-hmm.
She laughed. The interviewer laughed. I also laughed. It was hilarious. He had like a
Mm-hmm.
awesome face like that, like he did the
Yeah.
joke.
I
Well,
mean, sometimes you can joke with people and it can be appropriate, but I've seen some people where they're just like coming up and they're asking questions or doing stuff purposely. Like you can tell when a person is uncomfortable by your statements or your comments or what you're saying to them. Like you should never ask a cosplayer, even if they have their breasts out, how big are your boobs? And I've heard somebody say stuff like that. Like I've heard it, I'll see an interviewer and they're talking to some person at Comic Con and they're like, "That's a lovely Power Girl costume. Um,
oh Jesus
yeah, you have
Christ!
nice boobs. How big are your boobs?" Or something like that.
I
But Power Girl
never.
does have big boobs. That's one of the things, she's drawn with really large boobs. So a lot of cosplayers that dress up as her tend to be more well endowed, but I would never bring attention to something like an asset like that. Like, yeah, she has nice big boobs, but you probably should not be asking about them. And you probably shouldn't ask if a cosplayer has breast implants or not either. It's just like a lot of things people do that they think are appropriate. They think they can get away with sexually harassing or being nasty to a person because they're scantily clad as a character, but they're dressing up and being true to whatever the character is dressed up as.
True
And
to the
most
core.
female characters usually, yeah, there are characters you can pick that have more clothing on and armor that are females. But if I like Wonder Woman, Wonder Woman wears hot pants and she has a corset on and she has boots. That's what she has on. So maybe your butt cheeks might be out. If that's the character you like, no one should be, saying stuff to you to make you feel uncomfortable about dressing up as a character that you like. And if they have something negative to say about it, they should petition the artist to draw the characters with more clothing on. So when people were like, "I'm gonna cosplay this Wonder Woman," they're wearing a full suit of armor and they're not, undressed. And some people do work a lot on their body. A lot of cosplayers get into fitness. So I mean, if I was a guy and I had a really nice chest, I probably would try to dress up as everything to have my shirt off so I could show all of the work that I put in at the gym. I mean, some people are really proud of their bodies and their costumes, and I don't think they should be sexually harassed or feel ashamed because they are. And the vice versa goes for people who are plus size cosplaying. I don't think they should be ashamed for showing skin either, because to me, cosplaying is really just all about fun. And I don't really like when people have elitist attitudes like this person shouldn't dress up because they don't look like the character, because their skin isn't the right color, they're not tall enough, they're not dark enough, they don't have big enough boobs or any of that stuff. It's like a whole bunch of things that goes into like the whole ideal of body image in cosplay,
Yeah.
outside of people being sexually harassed or some people being talked about in a negative way because maybe they're not as skinny and pretty as said famous or cos famous person would be.
What else? What are your favorite mangas, animes, and or comics?
My favorite animes, because I'm pretty old school. I still love Dragon Ball Z. That was the first one that I watched that really got me into it, and then I started watching more. And then my favorite animated movie still has to be, no matter how many times I watch Princess Mononoke, I just love that movie. It's just a classic. Like, so a lot of the newer animes don't really appeal to me because I started watching anime like back in
Attack on Titans.
1999 or 2000. Like, so I like some of the newer ones, but I'm still like a classic Dragon Ball Z, Trigun, Cowboy Bebop. All of those ones are like really the ones that are like I really like those.
Yeah, I hear that.
And as far as comic books, I like both Marvel and DC comics, but I feel like I kind of like Marvel a little bit more because I feel like the characters are a little bit more relatable because they're like I have these powers, but they got their powers through some type of way. In DC, in my opinion, a lot of their characters are almost just like demigods or just gods. It's like really hard to relate to something like that. A lot of the characters in the Marvel universe are kind of just people that have powers. Their powers are like really amazing powers, but they're not like indestructible like and magic that are like mainly his weaknesses and his attachment to people. Obviously, if you kidnap his girlfriend or somebody he likes, then that's a problem too. But he doesn't really have as many weaknesses as the characters in like Marvel who have like different issues with maybe because they are a mutant and their family don't agree with them being a mutant and different things like that. It's a little bit more relatable. It's kind of like being an outcast in high school, being an odd man out. It's kind of like being a mutant when people don't really want to, like, you can only hang out with other mutants and people are kind of afraid of you or don't like you or don't understand you. So I feel like people can really relate to those characters and the issues that they have in their life as opposed to somebody
Abuela,
that's
por el
just
amor de Dios,
awesome
estoy
and is a
hablando.
god and all of that.
Have you read Injustice: Gods Among Us?
I have not read that yet. The last thing that I read was actually Heroes for Hire, and I just bought these, but I haven't had a chance to start reading them yet. I have Defenders. I got Defenders because I really fell in love with the character Misty Knight when I read Heroes for Hire. Just because she's like a cool, like, there's not a lot of, to be honest, there's not a lot of blacker characters of color in comic books. So usually, like, she was really cool, so I fell in love with her. And then I got the Infinity Gauntlet recently. And what else is in here? There's a lot in this bag. And then I have a huge crush on Nightwing. Like, he's one of my comic book crushes. So I just got like the new 52 Nightwing books. But I got like the compilations where you get 4 volumes in one because I feel like it's a little like I don't have time. Like, the comic book store near me is really far away. So I don't have time to go every week when they come out and buy them issue by issue. So I usually wait until they come out in values. And then this is just my Hero for Hires. Which, by the way, it was hard to find all of the ones of this one. I actually had to order some of them on eBay because they don't print them anymore and you can't buy them at comic book shops. So I had to go all around to find those. Some of the ones I actually
Sasha,
got
come.
on free comic book day. They were half price, so that was really cool.
You know
So
the
those are all the comic books that I have, and I haven't really had a chance. I watched most of the movies though, but I'm not sure how true the movies are to like what's going on in the comic book. So I
mm,
have seen everything, but I haven't seen the Gods Among Us one yet. I went to go buy it or something, or go try to find somewhere where I could stream it at a price, and I couldn't find it, so I have to wait until I can go somewhere and get it or whatever. So the last one that I saw, I think, was the one with Aquaman. I think that was the
Aquaman, the
last one
most useless
where
superhero ever.
where his where his mom died and some crazy stuff happened. I don't think he's useless. Like I mean, in my opinion, I
He
mean, I
can
guess
talk to
if
fish.
you play fighting games, he's not useless in injustice,
Oh,
because some people are really good with him as a fighter.
he can only talk to fish. He has the powers of SpongeBob.
Actually, he also, because he's been living under the pressure of the ocean, which the ocean pressure, if you go that far down, would actually crush the average person. Yeah, his body is probably pretty strong considering they live pretty deep under the ocean in pretty harsh pressures. And then also Atlanteans do have magic, and I mean magic is pretty cool. So he does have some magic. And then there are other Atlanteans besides him that have water powers that are pretty cool, like Aqualad.
Yeah, by the way, Injustice Gods Among Us is very good because the Joker kidnaps Lois Lane, who is pregnant
Don't tell me movie!
with Superman's kid. I'm not gonna spoil it. I'm just gonna give you the beginning. And what happens? The Joker doses Superman with a fear gas and a hallucinogen, and he thinks Apocalypse is all over here, and he beats the crap out of them and throws him into the space. But what happened is, it's not Apocalypse there; it was Lois Lane. So the Joker basically made Superman kill Lois Lane and his yet to be born son.
Mm-hmm.
And then Superman goes all cuckoo, and basically he becomes like, he decides that he's not gonna hold back anymore, and he starts killing villains. And then the whole league
Don't
starts getting,
tell me no more! You sound like you're telling me the juicy stuff that I would see by watching it.
and the league gets divided in two: those who support Superman and those who don't, which is spearheaded by Batman.
Okay.
Basically, you have to read it; it's pretty good. How you do? She's my baby.
Aww.
She's a pit bull, Sasha.
I, yeah, she's cute.
I know. She loves curling up around me. So video games. Which is your favorite one?
My favorite video games. Let's see. Like I don't know. I have ones that I like, but I can't really say that there are ones that are my favorite. I have ones that make me feel nostalgic. Like, but a lot of the ones that make me feel nostalgic are actually ones I played on PlayStation. Like Final Fantasy VIII and Legend of Dragoon, because I like RPGs and mostly shooters. And then I'm a big Halo fan. So like any Halo game, but I'm kind of disappointed about the decision that they're making with Halo 5 to like get rid of split screen, because that's one of the features that were in all the games, and I just don't see people buying individual consoles and four copies of the game to play with each other. Like it's totally gonna kill people sitting in the room playing with their friends. Like, cause me and my friends always had at least two or three Xbox 360s around and two copies of games, so we could do like a local landline party and play through the game together or whatever. And I think for some people who can't afford that, that's a really bad decision. And they're saying, well, the split screen feature isn't really used very much. I think a lot of people play with split screen unless you're like a single person and you're not, and you don't have people in your household or anybody to play with. I think a lot of people still use split screen. But then I guess their explanation is that it's going to bring the frame rates down from 60 frame rates per second. But to be honest, a lot of shooting games don't move at 60 frame rates per second anyway. Even in the split screen, like you'll get lapses where you're going between 45 to 50 frame rates per second. And to be honest, if it's really about frame rates and people cared about that, honestly, most people would probably, if they could afford it, move to PC, get a super PC where stuff can move at 120 frame rates per second. But I think like if you're trying to develop new technology for people to use, that if you're having an issue with split screen and 60 frame rates per second, then that means that as a developer, you're not pushing yourself to your limit to find how you can make the technology work better. Like, I don't want to pay $60 for you removing features from a game. If you're making adding an addition to the franchise, you should never be removing features. You should be adding more features for the players. You should be trying to make your game better and better and get rid of glitches and make it more fun. So I just don't understand their choice to move in the direction of removing split screen when that's one of the things that is like one of the things that is just common across all Halos from 1 to 4, that you're just gonna be like, well, we don't want to compromise the frame rates. But how much is the frame rate slowing down, and what type of animations in Halo would actually be compromised by having 45 frame rates or 50 frame rates per second in split screen as opposed to 60 frame rates per second with one person playing? Because a lot of people might not play online with other people through the campaign. They might want to play with their closest friends that live in the same building or same dorm room or in the same house with them. And to make a family of 4x4 Xbox Ones and 4 copies of the game just seems like you're just hogging or asking for money from your fans, and you're not really listening to what they want. Because I mean, even if they had to patch it to figure out some way to deal with the framework issues, it would be better if they just put the feature in there, and then they can figure out how to do some patches after the game is out to fix it if it runs really, really terrible. But
Yeah,
most
they
people,
shouldn't do that. I mean, they should when they release the game, they should release the game when it's complete. Not, oh, we have to do this patch over here, this patch over here, and a little bit over this and over that, and you know what? Then, fuck it all. We're not gonna give you anything. It's gonna be ruined anyways.
yeah,
And
but that's true. That's very true. But
like
at
on
the
the
same
Batman
time,
Arkham
you
games.
also should listen to your fans. And if your fans are upset that you're removing a feature that they really do enjoy, then you probably should at least consider putting it in the game. And I just don't see why they would do that. Like, I just don't. Like, I mean, the average person doesn't realize what frame rate their video games are moving at anyway, unless you play on a computer where you can turn on a Wenderler program to show you what frame rate your game is moving while you're playing. The average person just wants, when they pick up their controller, they want their character, when you press the gun to shoot, you want your gun to shoot like it's supposed to. Most people don't know what frame rate the game is moving at anyway to care whether it's 50 or 60 or 75 or 125 frame rates. Only time it would be noticeable to me is if the game slows down tremendously and my character is disappearing or my gun isn't going off when I press the buttons. But if it's a seamless, effortless, fun gameplay, no one notices what frame rate games are moving. Most games don't actually move at 60 frame rates. They drop when more enemies come on the screen or when there's more grass in the background or more buildings. Whenever you have to render more stuff on the screen, you're not going to get a clean 60 frame rates per second unless you're on a computer. If you're on a console, frame rates drop, but most people don't notice it. So I don't understand why that's a big part of the feature. They're so focused on graphics and pretty colors in the background that they're not really thinking about people having an enjoyable gameplay with their friends and all of that. So because they just want to make money off graphics. And it's a lot of games that I'm very disappointed by. Like, people are like, this game is so good. And I'm like, it's really not. A lot of people will buy a game just because of the name, and then they're buying the same game over and over. Like, if you played I've played Assassin's Creed a bunch of times, a bunch of different versions of it, and it never fails. Every last one still has glitches when you kill people, where their bodies are like in random places. You would think after them making the
Give me
same
one
game
second, please.
over and over.
my my grandparents over here. Ugh, how annoying. Well,
You would think after.
one of the things I hated the most of the Batman games is
Yeah.
Batman Arkham Origins. There's this
Uh-huh.
place that I have to do in order to free a zone, and I
Uh-huh.
have to enter this radio tower. But what happens
Uh-huh.
if I try to enter? I am locked inside because I can't climb in into the air vent because it just stays there hanging and you can't go up. And I tried looking for a patch for it, and none, none exists. And the game it's already very old,
Mm-hmm.
Arkham Origins,
Yeah.
and they haven't made the patch, and they say, no, we're not going to make it. Nope, not going to happen. Sorry. Not only
But
that,
see,
but
I would think if you're making the same games and your games have the same glitches, that you would figure out how to fix those glitches from this time to this time where you've made the same game. You're working on the same game, and I feel at this point you're just copying and pasting and adding new ideals that you be able to fix all of the problems that the other titles have. And a lot of companies don't do that. They just leave it in there and they're like, well, people are gonna buy it anyway because it's this name, it's this franchise, and they're gonna pay $60 regardless of what we do. And I think that doesn't give developers any incentive to like really create a really good product, especially since people pre-order and pay in full. Because if nobody pre-ordered or bought the games immediately in full, they're not guaranteed those copies. That those people are gonna come pick those copies up. So they would have to be really inventive about selling video games to get people interested. If people were just like, I'm not buying it until you put it out on the shelf because I don't want to waste my time pre-ordering it and giving you $5 to go towards your sale if you're not really going to take the time to make a good product. Like I didn't mind in the past when they pushed games back and it took another 6 months or another year for it to come out because they tried to actually make the game the best they could before releasing an incomplete, just a disastrous game that has to be patched. Because I feel like you're paying $60, but you're not getting your money's worth if the game is not near perfect when you buy it for $60 when you play it the first day. So yeah, I feel like the patching is a big issue. Like I think all of that stuff should be fixed in beta, alpha, gamma, whatever testing they call it after a certain point, and it's not, and it's just sad. You think some of the glitches that are there, they would know how to fix them by now, cause
they just don't do
I
it
mean,
because they don't want to.
and because they're so worried about deadlines and stuff like that. And then not only that, I feel like they probably spread their creative energy towards too many things at once. Because what I've noticed too in the past with video games is they work on a game, people play through it, they beat it. If they love the game, then DLC came out to keep the people entertained until part two of the game came out. They didn't make DLC at the same time they were releasing the main story of the game. They waited like 6 to 3 months later because people were just so enthralled by the game that they wanted more, but they knew it would take a lot of time to make a part two. So they gave people the DLC to hold them over until the next installment came out. But now I feel like they work on the DLC and the main game at the same time. But then the main game has a lot of issues that go unfixed because you're too busy worrying about getting extra money out of people by making them buy a season pass for downloadable content. When in the past they didn't do that. Downloadable content came out after people were so like just into the game and they really just wanted more.
You know
But
what
the
this
company
reminds
knew
me?
they didn't have enough time to develop a part two and that it was going to take years for them to do that. It would give people something to do until that other game came out. It was just kind of like something to give them time between projects. But now DLC seems to be like what they're focusing on. Oh, we're gonna make this DLC for new costumes on the same day the game come out, and we want you to pay $25 to get extra costumes. Which, in my opinion, in the past you just played through the game and did special missions, and then you can unlock stuff. But now everybody wants you to buy extra content. So I feel like most people aren't paying $60 for a game anymore. You're paying hundreds of dollars for a game that's not even worth that much, because with the gameplay and how much you do in the game, at most you got $20 worth of content or something like that that you're paying $120 for if you're buying a downloadable content. And it's just like really, it's really not a good business plan.
I never buy DLCs. I just pirate them. You know what this reminds me of? This. Hold on.
An inconvenience to you, and we hope you will voice all your concerns to us, because in your local cable company, the customer is always our bitch.
You saw that
Mm-hmm.
episode? It's the same thing now with video games.
Yeah. Hold on one second. My laptop's dying. I gotta get my cord.
All right. What you do? No estoy hablando en el celular, abuela.
Okay, there we go. That's
Welcome
better.
back.
Thank you.
Uh, no tengo ni idea. What else? Is there something you want to say to all your viewers?
Um, I don't know. Just cosplay for fun. Don't worry about what other people think about a character. If you like dressing up as it, dress up as it, even if you don't look like it. It's cosplay is just fun. Just have fun with it. Don't worry about what other people think about your costumes.
What do you think about the Jessica Nigri fiasco that happened on the G.A.C. convention?
I don't even know anything about it. You're gonna have to enlighten me before I can say anything about it.
Well, basically, Jessica Nigri, you know the cosplayer.
Yeah, I know who she is.
Okay, what happened is she went to PAX and she cosplayed a little bit of a revealing costume, and the guys that did PAX, they say, no, you can't do that. No, you can't. So now, get the hell out, basically.
Mhm.
I'm just oversimplifying it, but that's basically the gist of it. So basically, they kick her out only because she cosplayed true to the source of the character.
And if that's the case, I don't think that's fair, because most, unless you have something in your convention rules that say that you want your con to be a family friendly environment where you can't do this or wear this, if she was true to her character and it was a video game character or whatever it was, or it was a made up original version, then I don't think she should have been kicked out of the con for showing skin, because most video game characters show skin. I mean, and it is a video game con. Like that's what it is. So it doesn't make any sense that you would say that. Like I mean, if somebody comes dressed as Witchblade at Comic Con, they shouldn't get kicked out because Witchblade is a revealing costume. And I mean, you if you're just trying to appeal to the younger family margin at your cons, it doesn't make any sense to me. Because to be honest, majority of the material involving, unless you're playing Pokemon or more of the Eve for Everyone games, comic books and video games are geared more towards older people. There's a lot of content in it to me that wouldn't be appropriate for a 5-year old anyway. But I know a lot of 5-year olds play Grand Theft Auto or play stuff that they shouldn't because they have older siblings that are old enough to play it because they have it. And then if they're playing with somebody that can explain that when you shoot people, they're not going to get back up or respawn after you kill them, so they know that, then I don't have an issue with them playing mature content if somebody is supervising or watching or they're enjoying it with somebody that's older that's going to be like, well, you shouldn't go around shooting people because it's not a video game. In real life, when you shoot people, they die. Because kids don't logically see things the way adults do. They probably don't know any better. But I feel like a lot of cons are alienating their older attendees, which are going to be more of the people who are spending their money to go there, in attempts to try to make it a family-friendly environment for everybody. And I don't think that's fair because a lot of people that are into pop culture are over the age of 5. So
Oh,
Like
by the way,
you're
the
gonna be
costume that
losing
got her.
tickets.
By the way, the costume that got her in trouble on the PAX was a chainsaw lollipop.
That's not. She's not even naked. She has on like a. It's like a little mini skirt at most, and like a belly top. Or she has, if it's the other one. I mean, at most she's showing a lot of cleavage. But I mean, you could walk down the street and see a woman showing a lot of cleavage, and there's no laws against her doing that. I mean, it
Yeah, but
shouldn't be.
apparently they decided no, you can't do that. This is a family friendly convention. But
But it
you
depends
know
on
what?
what family friendly is, because in other countries, like I was a foreign exchange student in France, they show nudity in commercials that involve people washing their bodies with body wash, and
Uh,
there's children in the room. So it also depends on where you are. America is very censored, but not censored in certain degrees, and they're all like, we got to protect the innocence of children. But I mean, at the same time, how bad would it be if a kid saw cleavage when they probably see cleavage in other places besides a con or whatever? So
I mean,
I don't think somebody
conventions
wearing showing
can be
skin makes
family
the
friendly.
environment not family friendly. Because when you go to a water park, women wear bikinis at a water park, and there's children there. And
Not
the
only
con
bikinis.
people don't consider that not family friendly because, oh, she has on a bikini. Obviously, if you're wearing one where your whole butt is out, maybe that would be a problem. But a bikini that's like regular bottoms and a top, I mean, there's gonna be children in a water park. It's still family friendly, and everybody has on swimwear, or there's men with their shirts off. So I just think that that's ridiculous if they think they can't provide a family friendly environment if a couple of girls wear some slightly scantily clad costumes. The kids probably don't even care. They're probably only there because their parents want to go to the con, and they have an excuse to like go there, and maybe they feel embarrassed about going to be, or because people do talk about you if you're into comic books or into things that they think are for kids. Because a lot of Americans have that ideal that cartoons are for kids because they've never seen Japanese anime where there's like blood and violence, which is usually more for adults. So they might feel embarrassed to try to go to a con because they like Superman, and bringing their kids in is an excuse to be like, I can be here too because I'm here with my kids. No one's going to make fun of me or think that it's strange that I like watching cartoons and I'm a 45-year-old male or something like that. So half of the time the kids aren't even there for the convention. It's actually the parents that are super into the pop culture, and they just drag their kids along for the ride. Like my mother was into Star Trek, and if she was still into it, maybe if she was a Trekkie or something, she would might have drugged me along to Star Trek conventions, and I would have just been there because she was there, not necessarily because I wanted to go. It would be because my mother was into it. So I don't even think the children are necessarily at the pop culture conventions because some of them are into it, but they're into it because their parents are into it. It's not because they just was like, Mom, I want to go to Comic Con because I like Superman. Most likely it's because Mom likes Superman too, and Dad does too. So it's still family friendly if a girl has scantily clad. What's the difference between a kid seeing it in a comic book or in a video game and seeing it in real life? If you let your kids read Supergirl, Supergirl's still going to be wearing a halter top and a mini skirt with tall boots because that's what her costume is with the cape. What's the difference from seeing a girl dressed up as it in person and them reading about it in a comic book? It's not really much of a difference. They're still exposed to it either way it goes. If they play Soul Calibur, they're still going to be exposed to Ivy's butt being out in her costume. So what's the difference between them seeing Ivy in person as a person dressed up as it? If they're exposed to it in
Well,
one
that
form,
depends on who the cosplayer is too.
yeah.
But seriously, this whole thing, there's no such thing as family friendly because if they do that, they're just gonna call down their own numbers.
I
Uh,
mean, if they're doing family friendly, then they shouldn't have any content that involves any type of graphic novels or anything. Because family friendly would be only comic books to a certain degree that does not have any adult content in it. And if you're reading DC or Marvel, there's adult content. A lot of the stuff in there to me is usually for an audience that's 13 and up. And I think some of it might be a little bit like if they don't know what it is. Like, I mean, comic books are not family friendly to some degree, depending on what you're reading.
That's why
Some
they should
nights
have like
have
a warning
sensitive
for
themes.
parents bringing their kids. Like there is this and that. Before you buy your
Why not
ticket,
just
please be
make it a
sure.
separate area where you can have like, kiddie events? And then at most cons I go to the adult panels. They're 21 and up. You have to show your ID. It's usually like a hentai panel or something, and you can't get in unless you're 21, or it's something about like date Wonder Woman, or it's like some type of thing where you have to be an adult to participate.
Yeah,
So
I
cons
like
can
burlesque shows
do
they have
events
on
for
conventions.
children and they can do events for adults. But if people bring their kids to a con, maybe the kids should have to leave by a certain time and go back to the hotel room. Maybe bring your grandma or somebody who isn't into this stuff to watch the kids in the hotel room while they eat pizza and watch cartoons on cable. And the thing, I mean, they can do something with that because I think after hours should really be reserved for the adult pop culture people walking around. They should
Adult
be able to
Swim.
have a good time. I think they can do events for both and appeal without alienating their older audience. Because let's face it, majority of the people that are going to these events that are paying and spending money to buy the tickets are adults. They're not 5-year-old children because they don't have jobs to pay for these cons that cost 70 to $200 to $300 a ticket and cost to take pictures with celebrities and all of that. It's the older audience, and if you're gonna alienate them, they're not gonna show up, and then you're not gonna have a con. Because if the fans of the pop culture or the fandoms don't show up and don't buy tickets to your convention, it's not gonna make money. They make your convention go because they do love this stuff and they come there to see people dressed up and hang out and do whatever geeks and nerds and gamers and comic bookers and Whovians and
Etc.
whatever the
etc.
person is into and Trekkies and all of that. That's what they come to do. And if you're going to alienate them, talk about you want to make it a family friendly environment, you're going to get a lot of people that don't want to come to your cons because it's going to be a buzz kill. They're just not going to want to come anymore. Like, because if somebody told me I had to leave because I had on a mini skirt and my character wears a mini skirt, I personally would never ever go back to that convention. They would never get my money. They would have to kiss my ass and give me like free something for me to ever come back again. It's like if I have a bad experience at a restaurant a million times after eating there. I'm not going to keep going back to have a bad experience. I'm going to find somewhere else to spend my money where I know I'm not going to get offended by somebody telling me that I can't come wearing something or doing something. But I just think it's been this big war between the conventions and cosplayers going on, and I just don't understand it. I mean, the cosplayers are actually bringing some of the people in because some people specifically go to a convention to see their favorite cosplayer in the dealer room. Not to say that they weren't going to go there in the first place, but if they know that said, famous person is there, they might be more willing to buy.
I keep
Because to
trying
be
to
honest,
see my
you can.
favorite cosplayer, but every time they're supposed to go, they somehow cancel it, and I'm like, ah, damn it.
But see, at the same time, it's not really the merchandise that pulls people in per se. Because a lot of the stuff you buy in a convention dealer room, to be honest, you could probably buy online for cheaper. Usually, when I go, I like to go to like the artists are made like handmade by people that are unique and rare that aren't like merchandise you can go buy anywhere. So I do like the artist alley a little bit better than the regular dealer tables because I do think they price things higher, and as a person who does most of their shopping online, I know how to find everything for cheaper no matter what it is. If I buy it at a convention, it's just because the dealer was so nice to me and they had a really good presence and I had a good time talking to them about something that I was like, oh, I'm going to buy something from your table because you're nice and I like you and I want you to go to more cons. So I should probably buy stuff so you can make money, so you can go to cons so I can see you and talk to you again. But it's like a mutual relationship between the cosplayers and all of the people attending. People come there to see people dressed up as well as they come to do other things. So that's just the reality that people need to get along and figure out some way to make it work.
All right. Anyways, this is gonna be the end of the show. Thank you very much for obliging me. Thank you very much for being my guest. I hope you
You're
had fun.
welcome.
And to all everybody, thank you very much for watching. Please don't forget. hit that subscribe button, and all links to our lovely friend over here, her pages, will be on the description below. So subscribe and like and share. Thank you very much, people. Have a wonderful day. Bye.
Bye.